Along with James Brown, and coming up in just a few moments, we'll be going out to Salt Lake City for opening round action in the West region as Florida of the SEC takes on St. John's of the Big East. But first, let's get you caught up on some of tonight's first round action. Some of it just concluded, James. 2 out of the 3 scores are finals, Jimmy. Let's start first in the Midwest region, where DePaul had no problems with Wichita State. Rod Strickland led the way with 19 points, 13 assists as they go on to beat Wichita State 83-62. DePaul now plays Kansas State on Saturday. In the East region, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, Duke University, a balanced team effort. They beat Boston University 85-69. Danny Ferry paced the way with 21 points, 8 rebounds. They now play SMU on Saturday. And Louisville, Oregon State down in the Southeast region in Atlanta. Louisville leading by 7 with about 12 seconds left in that game. That's an NCAA Productions telecast. Let's take a peek in on that game with announcers Fred White and Larry Connolly.
We'd like to welcome those of you watching along the CBS network now to the final seconds of this one. Louisville's going to put it away. Purvis Ellison's 23rd point makes it 70-61. Louisville over Oregon State, and that's the ball game. And the Cardinals advance now to second round action. They got big nights from Purvis Ellison, Herb Crook, Denny Crum, shaking Ralph Miller's hand.
All right, so Louisville comes away with the victory, and of course you remember Louisville won the NCAA championship back in '86, looking to defend that title. And as Jim Nance mentioned, we'll be taking you out to Salt Lake City, Utah for the Florida St. John's game with Brent Musburger and Billy Packer. That after these messages from your local station.
This is CBS.
To Kansas City and the NCAA Championship now winds to the beautiful mountain city of Salt Lake City, Utah. Welcome now to Game 4 of the West region here. It's a St. John's Redmen of the Big East taking on the Florida Gators of the Southeastern Conference. Look at the brackets and what's unfolded already here at the University of Utah. North Carolina and Loyola Marymount will take on each other Saturday afternoon. A few minutes ago, Michigan was almost forced into overtime, but they survived against Boise State by 5 points. Now it is Florida and St. John's. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. I'm Brent Musburger. What to expect from these two teams tonight? We really don't know. St. John's is relieved, happy, just glad to be in the field of 64. As for Florida, when the season began, a lot of folks said this team could go all the way to Kansas City. But the season began in turmoil. Vernon Maxwell was suspended for the first 2 games of the year. Then they rallied to win the NIT. But 2 weeks ago, Chris Capers quit after losing his starting job for a second time. Then center Dwayne Shensis defied Coach Norm Sloan in refusing to come off the bench in last week's loss to Georgia. In the same game, starting point guard Ronnie Montgomery was suspended by the coach for his involvement in this fight. And then just yesterday, Patrick Aaron was sent home for a violation of team discipline. But Sloan is smiling.
I got them together out in the middle of the court, and I said, you know, fellas, I've never been around a Cinderella team before. I said, you guys have a chance to be the Cinderella team in this tournament now. You're short-handed, just a few people. Everybody in the nation will see it out there. I think you can get a lot of people pulling for you if you'll just get out and play your hearts out.
Billy Packer short-handed indeed. The Gators came out to warm up. Only 8 men are in uniform here tonight at this altitude. Billy, your feeling about what they're going to do tonight?
Well, it takes a lot away from their game. They used to be a very good pressing team. Now it's got to be a half-court game with Louis Carter second. Maxwell can play the point guard. As a matter of fact, he may be even more effective there. But the key for this team is which Dwayne Shensius are we going to see?
And for St. John's and Louis Carter second tonight.
I think we're going to see him use a revolving door center position, not let Shensius get off, and maybe use some fouls at that position.
All right, we're going to come back. It'll be St. John's at the Big East against the Florida Gators of the Southeastern Conference. Coming your way live on CBS in just a moment.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
CBS Sports coverage of today's NCAA Basketball Championship first round game from Salt Lake City is sponsored by Michelob Light. When the sun goes down, light up the night with Michelob Light. Delco Electronics, from car music systems to onboard computers. Automotive electronics, it's who we are. And by the heartbeat of America, today's Chevrolet.
points. Now Pitt has the lead. In the Southeast, Texas, San Antonio, and Illinois, it's early. Illinois, the Illini with the lead. In the West, in Los Angeles, Cornell and Arizona. Arizona's up big. Right now, back to Hartford.
Bob Carpenter with Dan Belwamini. Hartford. And it's Keith Smart at the line looking for his 11th point. Woolfolk just drew his second foul. That will be a factor in the ball game as Smart has 11, and he is now a guy who scored 9 of Indiana's first 13 points.
In fact, they had to come out with Woolfolk, so they've got Kratzer and Wienecki in there at the same time, so they're going to lose a little offensive punch. They're going to need their outside guys to make a few shots.
Rice dumping it in, getting it back from Wienecki, skying for a three-pointer. Rodney Rice is 2 for 2 from that range. He, too, is into double figures. It's 20-18.
That kind of tournament so far for Rodney Rice.
This is Smart. Back to Jones. The steal by Ken Atkinson. Keying the break, feeling his way through. Smart from behind, fouling him.
Good defensive play that time by Atkinson. He might have hurt his, looks like he's holding his wrist as he's getting up.
We got some real streaks going here. Atkinson leading that break.
Good steal that time by Atkinson. Now Smart's going to come from behind, but Atkinson definitely knows what to do with the ball as he gets in the lane. He's checking shot or pass, but gets fouled from the back by Smart.
Smart is scoring 9.
And number 11, Todd Barnes.
From Cincinnati, 3:13 left in the first half. Illinois leading Texas San Antonio 32-28. UTSA broke on top, led by as many as 4. Illinois came right back, though, and it's been nip and tuck ever since. Loose ball and a foul whistled against Illinois. It'll be on Kendall Gill, his first foul. And number 7 on the Fighting Illini. So Texas San Antonio will go to the line to shoot the bonus. Lou Henson's club struggling here early as the favorite against Texas San Antonio.
Lou Henson's club's known as defensive clubs. You saw the quick hands, almost resulted in a steal.
Also saw Ken Burmeister, the second-year coach at Texas San Antonio out of the Trans-American Conference. Free throw no good by Todd Barnes. And Illinois with the rebound, a chance to take its biggest lead of the game.
Interesting statistic. We felt that Texas San Antonio, Tom, had the advantage on the boards. Illinois has more than held their own, leading in that category 14-8 so far. Surprising number.
Blackwell fakes, doesn't shoot. Gill will. No good. Hamilton, strong offensive rebound. He lays it in.
I'm telling you what, Illinois would not be in this ball game without that young man. He's done it offensively.
The Southeast, Illinois leads Texas San Antonio. Now let's go back to the East. Indiana and Richmond, and a good one in Hartford.
So Richmond with 18 fouls, Indiana with just 6. Todd Chadlow shooting a 1-and-1. Chadlow's come off the bench and already has reached his season average of 5 points. He's 2 of 3 from the field, 3 offensive rebounds, and that free throw.
Yeah, he's been 6. He's been a key player, Bob, for Indiana. He's come in and given them a big lift. But Richmond's played an outstanding first half. Good transition and score.
It's just about the best.
Well, they just outman him at every position on the floor. That's to be expected, and I think people would realize that when you just look at the recruiting dollars and the budgets of Arizona versus Cornell. I think an interesting matchup, though, is our game, Richmond and Indiana. You have 2 outstanding coaches, one that gets a lot of publicity and ink, and Bobby Knight, and a guy by the name of Dick Tarrant. Remember, we talked about it. 84, he beats Charles Barkley and also Chuck Person and an Auburn team. And the kid Rodney Rice that's scoring for them, he played at Boston College. He's a transfer. Do you think Jimmy O'Brien would like to have him at Boston College?
Without question, he certainly would like to have him. Let's move on. Texas San Antonio facing Illinois. This in the Southeast region, being played at Cincinnati. Illinois, a hard-fought game in the first half as Lou Henson's crew simply could not pull away in a game against Texas San Antonio. Here's a look at the highlights right now. Illinois took 3 minutes to score his first basket. Stop the shot. Barnes, Glenn Blackwell gives it Kenny Battle, and Kenny Battle takes it in for 2 as he leans his way at the half. Texas San Antonio, however, just down by 7. Illinois leads it 38-31 at halftime. Lou Henson trying to advance. Remember last year, they were upset by Austin Peay in the first round, and I know there's someone who sits to my right who will not soon forget that. In the Midwest, it was Eastern Michigan and Pittsburgh. As you look at the Arizona score at halftime, 36-19. But now the Midwest, Eastern Michigan and Pittsburgh. Eastern Michigan, the Hurons, it's been a tremendous year for that program at Ypsilanti. Of course, they won the Mid-American Conference in football and won in the California Bowl as well, and now trying to surprise in basketball. Eastern Michigan runs out of gas, however, in the second half. Jerome Lane to Porter. Watch the bounce pass to Demetrius Gore, who lays it off the glass. 22 points for Gore. Charles Smith. Watch nice hands inside for Smith, who had 33 points. Showtime late. Porter back to Jerome Lane, who flies through the lane and jams it in. 108-90 is the final. That's the most points Pittsburgh has scored this year against Eastern Michigan. But, Coach, you have to be impressed, first of all, with what the Hurons did. They were in the game for most of the game, and only late could Pittsburgh get away.
They played them very tough. In fact, it was like a 2-point game late in the game, but then the explosive attack, Mr. Lane, Charles Smith, who really, to me, I think we're going to have a great tournament. However, I think as far as they can go, maybe maybe get to the 8. I'd say a little bit beyond the Sweet 16, but I can't see them going to the Final Four.
Even though their front court is so strong, you think the back court could hold them out of the Final Four?
I think one of the key ingredients for success in the NCAAs in tournament time is to have good guard play. It's mandatory that you get a good shot with each possession, and I think the guard play becomes almost more important than perimeter, than inside play, rather, and I think their guard play, though Miller's going to be a great one. He is young, and that pressure gets tighter and tighter. And I'll tell you something, what I love to watch, did you see Paul Evans one time? He exploded on the sideline. What else is new? I'll tell you, Paul Evans is getting to be where he makes Bobby Knight look like a saint.
Oh, Bobby Knight, of course. A team many felt were on the bubble coming into this one. Today, that bubble burst completely as Georgia Tech came away with the victory. It was hard fought, however. They started fast. Dennis Scott cans the three-pointer. Tech led by 7-0 early. Cyclones got their offense heated up. LaFesta Rhodes drills the three-pointer. He had a great day, 34 points. Game was close most of the way. Dennis Scott spots Tom Hammonds inside. And Hammonds had a tremendous game. The fake goes up and with the right hand puts it down. Johnny Orr Cyclones like to run off the break. Gary Tompkins finds LaFesta Rhodes, who lays it in. They're coming back from 9 down. Cyclones also had a big game from Jeff Grayer. The senior hits the jumper in the lane. He had 29, but Tech pulled away down the stretch. Dennis Scott finds Hammonds inside. He scores and is fouled. 90-78 was the final. Georgia Tech comes away with the victory. Tom Hammonds had 33. That's a career high. 19 of 21 from the free throw line. This game was decided from there. Georgia Tech, 36 points from the free throw line. Iowa State, only 11. Arkansas and Villanova. Now, this one from the Southeast region, which was played in Cincinnati. Villanova, the Wildcats under Rolly Massimino, have never lost in the first round. They were 8-0 coming in, trying to make it 9 straight. Doug West intercepts the outlet pass, feed to Rodney Taylor for the slam. Wildcats led by 7 at the half. Villanova never trailed in the second half. The ball goes inside to Massey. The blind pass to Tom Grice, who gets it 2. Grice would finish with 15 points. Hury then buries a three-pointer as he tries to keep the Razorbacks in the game. He ended up with 21. But Villanova keeps its poise. Alley-oop time. Kenny Wilson to Gary Massey, who dunks it with authority. Just a matter of time. Doug West goes one-on-one with Keith Wilson. And West scores and is fouled. Three-point play. West with 22 points as Villanova and Rolly Massimino has another victory. He is now 9-0 in the first round of the tournament, 82-74. Doug West had 22. Kenny Wilson had 17. All of those came in the second half. And, Coach, you have to be impressed with what Rolly was. At the beginning of this season, many people were saying this could be a down year for Villanova. Here they are winning again.
Well, the reason they said that because he had the down year last year. He looks like Danny DeVito on that sideline. I really do. I think I'm looking at Danny DeVito instead of Rolly Massimino. But, you know, the kid West had a great game. And he played in that famed Dapper Dan game. And the reason I mention that is because Sonny Vaccaro, who runs the Dapper Dan, is here in our studios and does a great job with that game. But I remember seeing West just a potential great athlete who I don't think has yet blossomed to be the kind of player that people thought he'd be when he came out of high school, though he's had moments of greatness.
If Rolly Massimino looks like Danny DeVito, maybe wants a new movie, throw Dick Vitale from the train.
Well, I'll tell you what, he can throw me anywhere he wants if he writes out that check, baby, and it's all in the acting style, because Rolly likes to get that check, too.
Okay, stay with us. There is plenty more to come here on the NCAA Tournament today. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
He says, okay, I'll start right from here. And I've got the ball. He says, yeah, you got the ball. Okay, let's start playing.
Handling it, Rodney Rice, outstanding outside shooter. Stapleton is not a man who will be taking many shots down the stretch.
Of course, they take Garrett out of the game because Garrett's in foul trouble. And Bob Knight does not want Dean Garrett to foul out, so they take him out on this sequence.
Under a minute. Rice. Yes! A two-pointer. The coaches all say he hit for 3, but they only give him 2. 21 for Rodney Rice. Indiana timeout with 48 seconds remaining. And now Richmond has the 1-point lead back. A timeout on the court with the score. Spiders 70, Hoosiers 69. As it should be with 48 seconds remaining. And Dan, the replay shows the officials were right on top of this one. It was indeed a two-pointer.
Not even close this time to a three-point shot. They usually do make the right call when you take another look at it, but Rice makes a difficult shot under pressure to give the Spiders a lead. Dean Garrett, who was out of the game defensively because of 4 fouls, they did take the shot on the perimeter, but I'm sure Garrett will be back for offense as Indiana gets the ball.
It might take a long time to play this last 48 seconds because Bob Knight has 3 timeouts left. Dick Tarrant with 1.
And they're going to a box and 1 now. They're going to play Edwards man-to-man, and they got fouls to take. Only 4 team fouls that Richmond has, so they can come out and pressure. Nobody's guarding Jones. Nobody's guarding.
And Jones throws one up. Ball is loose. Jones got it, and he was fouled. Maybe the biggest rebound of that freshman's first year at Division I.
Well, Dick Tarrant's playing this just like he did at the start. He's letting some players shoot who don't normally do in key situation, and it's working. Jones with the shot, and more importantly, got the rebound, but not a shooting situation. Only the 5th team foul, so it goes out of bounds to Indiana.
Rice's 3rd foul. Tillman for Jones. Smart. Missing. Rebound, Rice. Richmond has the ball. And a breakaway.
Need a three-point. There's still time. They need a three-point shot, so have the presence of mind to shoot a three-pointer. Not inside. That's it. Outside.
Tillman for 3. No, and Richmond wins.
Well, they said the East Regional was loaded, but what a job by Dick Tarrant.
Played in the NCAA in 1940. It took till 86 to lose in the first round. It's happened again. The score, Richmond 72, Indiana 69.
Well, yes, we do have our first major and stunning upset of this tournament. 72-69. The Richmond Spiders pull it off. I see Dick Vitale beside me shaking his head. You talk about the general all the time. You talk about Robert Montgomery Knight. But for the second time since 1986, his club is gone in the first round.
Now, can I correct you again? Major upset? There's no upset. This Indiana team has been struggling all year, basically. No shock other than the names we told you earlier. Dick Tarrant. I thought they were going to have enough, though, Indiana, maybe to come back after halftime because Richmond had shot 60%. But Dick Tarrant, T-A-R-R-A-N-T. I remember this guy coaching at Passaic High School, Passaic, New Jersey. Doesn't shock me. He's been a winner from day one. Just a great, great coach. Here's an example. In fact, earlier this year, he beat Georgia Tech on December 22nd. Bobby Cremins is jumping with joy because it's Revenge City now for Georgia Tech playing Richmond because Richmond had beaten them 73-67. What a shot by Rodney Rice. Hey, I mean, unbelievable. Minute Rice does it. Unbelievable. With a minute to go. You like that line, huh?
Very often, what are upsets are things that we have created, of course, and we feel that Richmond beating Indiana is a surprise, whether you call it a major or a minor upset. Right now, we're going to go back to Hartford.
In Hartford, Richmond 79, Indiana 72, Indiana 69. One of the big upsets in the first round so far. And with me is Rodney Rice of the Richmond Spiders. Rodney, congratulations on the win. Your outside shooting in the first half and into the second half was a factor for your club.
Well, I know they were going to really be packing it on Pete and Kratz on the inside. I know I had to hit the outside shot for us to win.
Richmond is not a team that gets a whole lot of national recognition. You won your conference, then you won the tournament. Very difficult to do, whatever league you're in. And now this. What's the feeling on the club from the guys you were able to talk to before you came over here?
Well, we're really excited about being in the NCAA tournament. You know, that was our first goal at the beginning of the season, and we wanted to come in here, and not only just to be here, but win a couple of games.
Now, you obviously did the job outside with your outside shooting, but talk, if you will, about Peter Wolford and Kratzer down deep. They did a great job today on Dean Garrett.
Kratzer's been really hitting the boards lately, and Peter, he's always our man inside. We look for him to score our points, but I was glad I was able to hit the outside shot today.
So is it celebration time, and when will you guys start thinking about Georgia Tech?
We're going to start thinking about Georgia Tech about an hour from now. We're going to cool down, but we know we have work to do our next game.
Rodney, congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Rodney Rice, who had 21 points in the ball game here this afternoon and some outstanding three-point and outside shooting. And the coach is victorious as well. Dan's with him right now.
Thanks very much, Bob. And of course, Dick, what can you say? Great win. You did a terrific job. I thought you took their guards out of the play with the box and one, and the tempo really went your way in the second half.
I think we had to control tempo in order to win the game. If the game ever got into the 80s and 90s, I'm afraid we were going to run out of gas. As it was, we tired a great deal, but we hung tough as we have all year long.
In the second half, I thought that Kratzer...
They failed to do last year in the first round. Lou Henson trying to wrap it up.
Two more free throws. It's 81-69. Illinois leading Texas San Antonio. Cooper just saves it from going out of bounds. Tried to pass it, intercepted by Illinois. Here's Anderson. Gives it up on the break. Gill back to Anderson and a foul. That's going to be over the back on Nick Anderson. They didn't handle that one very well.
We wanted a little showtime, Tom. I thought Gill was setting Nick Anderson up for a lob dunk situation. Anderson really not ready for it that time.
Texas San Antonio cut the lead down to 9 a couple of times in this half, but Illinois has taken control.
Gill puts the pass up there. Anderson not really expecting it. Again, same book.
On the season and advance to the second round of the Southeast Regional to play Villanova on Sunday. Final score, Illinois 81, Texas San Antonio 72.
Final is 80-64. Seton Hall with the victory over UTEP. Easy, boy. Let's take a look now at the bracketing in the West as it project ahead, Dick, towards an Arizona-Seton Hall matchup. Arizona, of course, top seed. Seton Hall coming in number 8. Seton Hall getting past a UTEP team that really was decimated by a number of problems. Didn't have a lot of their key players, of course. We've talked about that. So let's look ahead towards Sunday.
Well, Sunday they got an unbelievable matchup. You know, the interesting story for Arizona is whether or not Tom Tolbert can play, because without him, they'll have some problems inside, especially with Mark Bryant. Hey, somebody give a wake-up call to Bryant, like after 3.5 years? Where's this guy been? He's unbelievable now. Now he's a superstar, and for 3.5 years, I didn't know he existed.
It's been a perfect day so far for the Big East. Bryant has really increased his stock dramatically with the NBA.
Oh, yes, he has. And what about the Big East cash register going ding-a-ling-ding, another 200,000 in a till.
Kind of like you at tax time. It's tallying up what you've done through the year. NCAA Tournament tonight continues. We've got the #1 team in the country in just a couple of minutes, the Hall of Winner. Well, we've got perhaps the best game of the first round, and in addition, we've got the #1 team in the country, Lehigh and Temple. We're going to be spending most of the evening in the insurance city of Hartford, Connecticut. Lehigh and Temple coming up after just a couple of minutes from now. Then about 9:30 Eastern Time, LSU and Georgetown. If you accept the proposition that Temple is going to win tonight, then the winner of this game will be taking on Temple in what will be a corker of a second-round game, and it's an outstanding first-round matchup. Now, Temple and Lehigh, Ronnie Perry and Mike Gorman standing by at the Hartford Civic Center. They'll have tonight's game.
All right, Bob Lee, thanks very much. We're just moments away from Temple and Lehigh here in Hartford. And I guess the question, Ron, that a lot of people have been asking the past couple of days is, can a team that's ranked #1 like Temple has been for almost 5 or 6 weeks now, can they be ready for a team like Lehigh?
Well, I think they have to be. And if you listen to their coach, John Chaney, since the season has ended for Temple, regular season and tournament play that is, and listening to him in press conference time, the first game is the critical game in the NCAA tournament So he says there will be no letdown. He prides himself on the team approaching things consistently and says this is the first step of another new season.
Quickly for Lehigh, we will see a player tonight named Darren Queenan, who we all may see play in the pros for years to come. He's quite a player.
Excellent player. You just don't hear a lot about him because he plays in the East Coast Conference for Lehigh, but he's amassed over 2,600 points. That's an awful lot of points. An outstanding player, someone that Temple is very concerned about in this game.
All right, Temple feels they need to win a couple to justify getting eliminated in the second round the past couple of years. For Lehigh, Bob Lee, this could be their night in a century. Back to you.
And by the way, they are the brown and white officially, even though their warm-ups on the back are going to say Engineers. They are trying to change the nickname, want to get a new image, and make people realize they are also a liberal arts college as well. The brown and white of Lehigh, the Owls of Temple. We'll check some scores and get you started on the evening action right after this. Temple getting raring to go, #1 in the country against Lehigh next up.
A look at the officials for tonight's game. Nolan Fine on the right. Noam Baruki in the middle, and Stanley Rote on the left. The Temple Owls have taken the floor. The Lehigh brown and white. A lot of fans used to hearing Lehigh referred to as the Engineers. It is the school that has requested us to call them the brown and white. They're in the process of changing their nicknames, mostly because they feel Lehigh is a lot more well-rounded than just an engineering school. So they'll be the brown and white to us tonight, and there are the matchups. Queenan, the player to watch. He will jump center. Queenan and Polaha have scored an amazing amount of points. Something like 6,400 points will graduate when these two leave.
I mean, that's a lot of points to be leaving the brown and white next year.
Temple with first crack at it. Breeswick top of the key, Evans. Layer out defensively on him. Tim Perry backs his way in, hits the turnaround.
Well, they start out the brown and white doing a man-to-man defense, and that's a tough matchup for Cheslock going up against a very rugged Tim Perry.
Scott Layer, number 11, will handle the ball a lot. That's Mike Polaha, 24. Queenan down in the right-hand corner, number 12. Queenan with the ball. Misses the long jumper. Polaha on offensive board, but he's stripped by Howard Evans.
That was Temple's matchup zone, and they're going to try to key on Polaha, number 24, and Darren Queenan, number 12. Keenan went downtown for that one.
Perry again. Tim takes it in. Little jump hook won't go down. Breeswick's tap won't go, and Lehigh able to clear.
Fran McCaffrey felt the key in staying close in this ball game for Lehigh was doing a job off the glass.
Russell kicks it out to Polaha. Layer will try a three. Macon rebounding and running. Mark Macon, hesitation, good pass. Perry's got two more.
One thing that Lehigh is doing with those two quick jump shots is they're creating perhaps a faster tempo in this game than they want.
Now Layer will pull it out just a bit. Lehigh looking to break the ice. Missing outside. Breeswick the rebound. Polaha can't keep it alive, and Perry gives it off to Evans. So 3 shots by Lehigh, 3 threes attempted.
That's right. There's only been one opportunity each time.
Breeswick missing the 3. Good hustle play there as Cheslock kept it alive. Layer has got Queenan on a wing, takes it himself, and an offensive foul is called.
He had Queenan up on the left wing ahead of him. Fran McCaffrey gets up to question the call. Now, Breeswick got pretty good position on that one. Layer should have pulled up around the foul line area, either taken the short jump shot or perhaps thrown the bounce pass over to Queenan.
First foul on Layer, the first on Lehigh. Macon flashes through the middle, too long with the jumper, and nice boxing out again underneath by Bill Cheslock.
Clips in the white. Let's join Mick Hubert and Jack Gibbons in this game. First half.
Authority of the NCAA. Any use of this program without written consent is prohibited. The announcers for this program have been approved and contracted by NCAA Productions. A busy day of basketball. And Seton Hall has defeated UTEP 80-64. That's out west, and in the Midwest, Vanderbilt knocks off Utah State from the PCAA 80-77 for C.M. Newton's team. Rudy Archer controlling for Maryland.
I really like the job Santa Barbara has done at cutting down the chances of Maryland on the inside. They have really got on those post-up people to force Maryland to shoot the ball from the outside.
Possession arrow is toward Santa Barbara. The Gauchos will get it.
Master Guard belongs to UC Santa Barbara.
9:40 remaining in the first half. That's Carlton Davenport being guarded by Rudy Archer. Goes for number 12, Ryan Johnson.
Well, Davenport is a true playmaker. He is capable of getting the ball to the right people at the right time. You saw him right there find the opening down low to make the pass.
So a Maryland foul. It'll be out of bounds to UC Santa Barbara. Each team with 3 first half fouls.
That is his second personal foul.
Ryan Shaw working against Steve Hood. Davenport came to the lane to get that ball, and he's got it on the rim and in.
Well, good job and good body control that time by Davenport. Only 6 foot tall and took the ball in there to right at Brian Williams. Williams couldn't get up high enough to get the hand on it.
Derek Lewis inside.
Shaw got up that time.
We'll be keeping an eye on that game throughout the entire evening. Temple cannot really shake the brown and white, as right now that game is still a tight one in Hartford. We'll take a break and then get right back to the action in Connecticut.
Breezewick launches a 3, picked off by Layer. Lehigh now a chance to take the final shot of the half. If they can hit a 3, would have a tie game.
Now the smart thing for Lehigh would be to take the shot with about 5 seconds left and just try to make the last shot, because they've been only getting 1 shot for most of this first half.
Polaha watches the clock. Breezewick comes out at him.
Temple's adjusted to a man-to-man. Makes it more difficult to hold the ball.
10 seconds. Polaha wants to go himself. Great move on Breezewick. Won't go down for him. Picked off by Macon. Watches the clock. Lets it fly.
Almost. Almost got it. What a half.
John Chaney heads to the locker room. That's the end of the first half. With the score, Temple 38, Lehigh 35. We'll be back after.
Let's go back in time a little bit about what, 48 minutes ago, and you said what? They have absolutely no chance. Started singing The Impossible Dream to the consternation of music teachers of America. All right, what do we got here?
Hey, let me tell you something. First of all, the bottom line is you got to win. It's not moral victories that count. First of all, look at Temple all year long. 1-point win over Penn State. Struggle with Mississippi. When it's all said and done, the W will be on the Temple side. Let me tell you something else. They're trying to make it interesting, saving it for the next night. If they were to beat Temple, I'll hitchhike from here to Hartford, down the road, and I will offer to drive the bus for Lehigh back to Bethlehem.
Ooh, gosh. I don't know. You at the wheel, they may not want to win this game. All right. Plug in your ears so you can hear what we're doing, and let's get back to reviewing what's been happening through the evening. They've just now gone to halftime in Cincinnati, the game between the Gauchos of Santa Barbara and Maryland. A seesaw first half. Let's take a look at what's been happening in that game between the Terps and the Gauchos. Teams playing well, both ends of the floor. Keith Gatlin had the hot hand for the Terps. Scores on the backdoor pass from Scott Williams here. Gatlin, halfway through this game, has got 17 points. But Brian Shaw, one of the great unsung players, with 14 points in the first half. The PCAA Player of the Year. 44-39 is the halftime score. And they, as we said, have just now gone to the intermission. We'll be tracking that game tonight with live reports and score updates through the night. Elsewhere today, in the Southeast earlier today, the Illini over the Roadrunners of San Antonio, 81-72. Lowell Hamilton had 21 in that game. Glenn Blackwell had 19. Illinois will be playing the team from Villanova. The win 82-74, as Nova has yet to lose a first-round tournament game under Rolly Massimino. They are now 22-12. A good day for Doug West, as Villanova shot 57% from the floor on the day. Game that ended several hours ago, the first visit ever for the Seton Hall Pirates into the tournament against the UTEP Miners. And the Bear Don Haskins has seen many a tournament. Miners up by 1 here, but James Major for 3, and the Pirates have an advantage. Seton Hall takes a 4-point advantage. Watch here as Major will drive the lane. It won't go, but Mark Bryant, who had 30 on the day, puts it home. He had 12 of those 30 in the first half. And at the intermission, Seton Hall by 4. UTEP hanging in. After being down by 10, Chris Sandel with that home run. And it's a 1-point lead for the Hall. Sandel had 28. But the Pirates were able to pull away. They're up by 8. Mark Bryant in the paint. What a close to the regular season, and now the postseason he has had P.J. Carlissimo and the Pirates move on as Don Haskins hits back to El Paso. That final was by the count of 80-64. And after the game, we talk with P.J. Carlissimo.
The kids were very loose, fortunately. I think they just came out and they've been really loose and confident the whole year. And I don't think they appreciate yet. I think if you hear it a couple times, you start thinking, hey, this is really important. When it's here for the first time, you come out and you enjoy it, and that's the way they're playing. But in terms of getting it into Mark, I thought the other people did a real good job. El Paso does a super job of pressuring, but they just outmanned right now. They don't have enough people. So if you make a couple more passes, eventually, you know, any team has to get tired. And I think that the other kids did a good job involving Mark in the offense.
Final was 80-64. P.J. Carlissimo coaching today with a bad case of the flu. Normally, he doesn't have much of a voice when the game's over. So 80-64, and everywhere, sons of Mother Seton rather proud of this victory. The first foray ever into the NCAA Tournament for the Seton Hall Pirates. In fact, Dick, a moment of pride here, huh? Let's take a look. Do we have that? Yeah.
There it is.
Who owns those rings?
That's my ring on the left.
And mine on the right. Okay, we've gotten that out of our blood because we better get it out of the way quickly. At Sunday, it's going to be Seton Hall against Arizona against Cornell. It was a workout today, and the easy victory by the count of 90-50. Anthony Cook had 24 points. Arizona's 32-2, and they get past the first round. They lost the last 3 rounds early on in the tournament, so Arizona moves along with that easy win. We are at the halftime of a curious game. The brown and white, well, we'll call them the Engineers. They're engineering an interesting game right now. They're down 3 on the Temple Owls, #1 in the country. Stay with us. Can do against #1 Temple.
Hartford, Connecticut, and the score, Temple 38 and Lehigh 35. Take a look at the first half numbers in this very, very surprising first-round game. And if you told me, Ron Perry, that Lehigh would shoot 39% in the half and trail by just 3, I would have told you nuts.
Only reason I can even believe it is when you look at these numbers and see that Temple hasn't shot the ball much better, and that Lehigh has held their own on the boards in this first half. We've got 18 for each team, and a couple of those extra 3s by Lehigh. They're right in it.
And if it wasn't for Mark Macon, Temple might not be right in this game. What a half this kid had.
Well, he took matters into his own hands. Had 18 first-half points, and when things stalled offensively, they got him the ball, and he stuck it.
See Mark Macon just a brilliant half, 8 rebounds in the first half. That's officially looked like he had a whole lot more. On the other side, Darren Queenan will talk about Mike Palaha, though, kind of took over late in the half for Lehigh.
Right, he'd only gotten 1 shot off through about 15 minutes, and then hit a couple of shots, and then made that fine runner in the lane, and he can put the points there quickly, too.
He finished the half with 7 points and 5 rebounds. Let's take a look. Individual scoring for both teams. Queenan leading the way. He's got 12. He needs 26 tonight, by the way, to move past Reggie Lewis, who's ex of Northeastern University, now at the Boston Celtics, and that would put him up into 10th all-time in the NCAA scoring list. And on the other side for Temple, it has been the Mark Macon show. 18 points for Mark and no fouls. Howard Evans with 7, and Tim Perry, 2 fouls, sat down early, didn't come back. Rieswick has been unable to get it going. No real big help off the bench. Rivas, who you would think has a terrific mismatch in his favor, only got 2 in the first half. Is this a fairy tale? We're in halfway through here, Ron, or what?
Well, if Temple waits too long to turn on the gas, this is a team and I think an atmosphere which could build in Lehigh's favor. I think they picked some confidence up in the first half, did Lehigh, because they hung in there with Temple. But Temple has been a team all year long that has won games. They have just won them one after the other, with the exception of 1 game to UNLV. So
lost that by a point.
They're playing with fire, though, if they let Lehigh stick around too long.
Rand McCaffrey hoping that they can stick around just about half hour more. He'd be pretty happy. Rivas, Evans, Macon, Perry, and Rieswick come back out for Temple. Mike Polaha, Scott Lair, Tim Russell, Bill Cheslock, and Darren Queenan back on the floor for the brown and white of Lehigh. Lehigh with a chance to get a little bit closer here. Lair, number 11, hit some 3s early in the game. In fact, he hit 3 of them. Queenan running the baseline. Lair looks for him in the corner. Now they come top to Russell. Little opening. He takes it. Back rims it. Perry the rebound.
Perry was up there all by himself on that board. Beginning moments in his second half important to establish momentum. We'll see who can take charge right here.
John Chaney kept his team in the locker room until there was 1 minute on the clock. Temple came out and shot for about 20 seconds, and that was it. Tim Perry with his 6th point of the night.
Well, I have to imagine he was getting a couple of points across rather strongly. I don't know if he raised his voice or not. All he had to do was look at the stat sheet, look at the shooting, and talk a little bit about intensity to his ball club.
Darren Queenan has it slapped away by Mark Macon. What a player this freshman is.
Doesn't change the expression on his face.
Never.
Knows what he's got to do out there.
Here players talk about focusing on a game. Mark Macon focuses better than most. Queenan down the lane for 2.
Wow, he's been at his best in this game. Queenan has penetrated to the goal. He's very explosive.
Plays with a smile on his face, too. I like that.
He's having a good time.
Yeah, he really is. It's not a
Ron Franklin along with Quinn Buckner, and right now, with 1:38 seconds left until halftime, the Ohio Valley Conference representative, a 3-point lead over NC State. McClatchy inside, and it's a 5-point lead.
Well, that was a good play inside. Ogden got the ball, took it around, and saw the help coming from North Carolina State's Charles Shackelford just dished it off, and McClatchy got an easy basket, and they got a 5-point lead.
Monroe, 2-pointer, just inside the line. That's 9 points for him off the bench. He averages 11, and he's off and running here this evening in Lincoln. About to go under 1 minute until halftime.
Murray State has done a good job for themselves. They're right here in this basketball game. As you see McClatchy make a shot, something that he doesn't normally do from there.
That's one of those shots that the coach screams to the bench, no, great shot, isn't that right?
Exactly.
I'm a great coach when that goes in. Del Negro gets it back with 44 seconds until halftime.
Well, the shot clock is at the point now that North Carolina State can go for one shot.
But a half a tick difference. Shackelford misses, and he has been cold in this first half. Shack with 5 points. Biggest lead of the night, the 5-pointer by Murray State. And obviously, Coach Newton with one finger high in the air, and that's not play number 1. He wants to go for the final one here at halftime. Game against Del Negro. That's man.
Guess who's going to take the shot?
Interesting thing, there's man. 25-footer, not there on the follow. NC State, 1 second. Monroe could not get it off on time. So they head to the locker room. And I just want to ask you, Quinn, how surprised are you at this?
And our thanks to Ron Franklin and Quinn Buckner. They're in Lincoln. We'll be updating you on that one. Temple's got things in control now against Lehigh. Here's Mike Gorman in Hartford.
3:40 now to go here in the game. Temple by 9. Macon playing with the 4 fouls. Breezewood playing with 4 fouls. Evans playing with 4 fouls. Inside to Perry. He's been the story, and he hits again.
Now that's 27 now for Tim Perry. And that's the kind of basket that now makes it a double-digit game. 11-point Temple lead. Makes it tough for Lehigh.
Polaha knocks a 3 down.
He doesn't have any quit in him.
22 for Polaha, and Lehigh takes a timeout. And with the timeout on the court, the score Temple 74, Lehigh 66. Down low. 10 of 13, and Timmy Russell, who has had himself a valiant night here trying to stop the likes of Tim Perry down low. Russell playing with a swollen cheek. There you see the left side of his face where he caught an elbow from Ramon Rivas earlier, but Russell won't take no for an answer, and he's back out there playing. I think that kind of typifies the way Lehigh's played all night long.
That's the story of this Lehigh team, as you see both teams with 3 timeouts left, and the possession arrow favors Temple.
East Coast Conference with a lot to be proud of here tonight. Temple, of course, an original member of that East Coast Conference until they left to join the Atlantic 10.
That's right. Lafayette, Ryder, Drexel, Bucknell and company proud of what they're seeing here on the part of Lehigh.
Lehigh might have to go out and get Temple a little bit here. John Chaney with all that foul trouble will let him take it down. 12 on the shot clock right now. Get it in the hands of Macon. Macon the spin. Knocks it down.
I guess you could say he's not afraid to take the big one and the smart one because Temple worked the clock well.
24 for Macon. Block outside to Polaha. Gets away from Macon. A leaner. Yes! Score it and a foul. That might be a 4-point play.
I think it might have been. Everyone with the arms up. No, it's check. Good teamwork by the officials. The trail official on the weak side said, no way. Well, there's the left foot right on the line.
Nice call. Good call, guys.
We've seen that a few times today. Real good work where one of the refs picks up the foul. They look for help on what they need, and they get it.
Mike Balaha finishing off a brilliant career here at Lehigh. He and Darren Queenan have combined for 43. And Mark Macon leaves the game. 24 points, 9 rebounds.
And Dick Tarrant joins us live in our studio here this evening. And Dick, congratulations on the victory.
Thank you, Bob.
Was it your biggest as a coach at Richmond?
Well, perhaps. It certainly parallels our win over Auburn, mainly because they're NCAA wins. And we've had some great wins, but when they're in a national tournament, they're more meaningful.
Dick, I try to tell everybody I knew you back then when I was only in high school following your teams. Yeah. What do these names mean? Mike Check and Dick Martini, John Mahanchek, Roland Moss, Michael Glaus. I could go on and on. I used to sneak in your gym and watch you and learn. The nation doesn't realize that if you would have gotten a chance earlier in your career, you'd be up there with the Knights and the Dean Smiths.
That didn't happen, so, I mean, let's not even talk about it. But those names are very important to me, and I still hear from those guys, and they're a very important part of my life, and I hope that I had some maybe minor influence to help them along in getting on to adulthood.
Dick, did you feel frustrated at all in that you didn't get a chance until you're 50 years of age in terms of being a head coach, watching all the years, guys that maybe were inferior to you?
No, I mean, I really didn't have a drive to be a college coach until all of a sudden it was thrust upon me. You know, it was a one-year kind of an interim coach thing, and my back was to the wall, and I decided to roll up my sleeves and do what I had to do. But I'm very, very happy at Richmond, and I'm particularly delighted tonight, not only to be with you, Dick, but to have won a game against a team as prestigious as Indiana program, and a man I respect, of course, enormously, as Bob Knight.
I'll tell you, Dick, that respect certainly is mutual. Let's take a look now at Bob Knight's responses and his thoughts after the game as the Hoosiers were dethroned this afternoon by Richmond.
This is the third time now that we've played Richmond in a tournament. And I think hell, Dick Tarrant was a good coach before I ever started coaching. And if I were to pick a guy, if somebody were to say to me, pick the best coaches in the country or the people that have done the best jobs with basketball programs, Dick Tarrant would be one of them, one of the handful, simply because there isn't any real reason why Richmond should be any good in basketball. They weren't ever very good before he got there, but he's done a great job developing the people that he's had, and he certainly doesn't have the opportunity to recruit like as a school like ours does, and so he's done an outstanding job with it.
What do your kids think about when they play a major name school like this?
Well, I just try to tell the guys that you're not playing the name, you're just playing some guys you might play in a playground. Now, Keith Smart and Garrett and those guys are outstanding, probably future NBA guys, but we just have to stay together as a team and our roles and our chemistry and think of what we can do as a group. I said, after all, you guys upset Auburn when they had Barkley in person. If someone said that now, your knees would bang together. I mean, they're two of the most, they're two all-pro guys. So a lot can be done in a college game if you play together and you use the clock and do all the things you have to do to win. And that was, I think, evidence today in that great win for us.
Dick, I know all your peers, guys that know basketball, I've seen you at clinics, echo what Bob said, that you're certainly recognized as really an outstanding coach. I have a quick question for you. The phone rings, it's outside, it's Fred Gruninger, Rutgers University. You're from New Jersey. Would you make that one last trip, come back to the State University, and be the head coach?
Well, Fred hasn't called. And should he call, I think I'd just tell him I'm very, very happy at Richmond, and I plan to stay there. My family is there. I have children and grandchildren in Richmond, and I do not plan to go to Rutgers. Someone called from a New Jersey paper as soon as Craig Littlepage resigned or was dismissed or what have you. And maybe I didn't say the right thing, but I said, New Jersey's a nice place to be from. You know, maybe they didn't
Come on,
that.
The three of us can attest to that, certainly. Well, Dick,
Richie, Richie. I remember when you didn't have this perm, baby.
I remember you when you had holes in your shoes.
Nonetheless, we heard what Bob Knight said, certainly, about the reputation that Dick Tarrant has established for himself at Richmond. Earlier today at that same press conference, somebody asked Bob Knight whether indeed Bob had had a chance in person this year to scout the Richmond Spiders.
How the hell would I get from Bloomington to Richmond during basketball season to watch a game? Or for what reason? You know, I think Tarrant's a hell of a coach, but the son of a bitch isn't my brother. I mean,
As only he can say it, right?
Oh, he's beautiful.
He's a piece of work. I'll tell you one thing.
Why would he come to Richmond to see us play anymore and we'd go to Indiana to see them play? We don't have the foggiest idea, one, if we're getting in, and two, who we're going to play.
Hey, to change the subject, you got Georgia Tech. You beat them earlier in the year, Bobby Cremens. He's got to like the idea rather playing. I'm sure he's rather play you than Indiana right now. The factor of playing the second time, what would you have to do to beat that club again?
Well, I think we have to control tempo. They really getting it up and down much, much better than when we played them in December. So I think we have to really take time off the clock, Richie, and make that 40-minute game into a 30-minute game and see if we can control tempo and keep the game in the 60s. If it gets into the 80s and 90s or in the 100s, it's history.
You talk about the many things that can happen in the college game. You dethroned the champion today, Dick. Let's take a look back in history over the last 5 champions that we've had in the NCAA ranks, what they have done. Now, North Carolina State, the miracle year. Next year, NIT loses there in the first round. Georgetown, yes, of course, got back in '85 and lost to Villanova in that miracle game, but Villanova's miracle '85 season, they followed that up by losing in the second round. Louisville did not get the bid after winning in '86. And Indiana goes out in the first round. That really highlights the miracles that can occur in the majesty of this game, and you again proved it today. And we'd like to thank you for joining us today, Dick Tarrant.
I'm a big ESPN fan, and it's a pleasure to be here in Bristol with you guys.
I want to thank you, too, and I'll tell you something. We use that word great, I know, for a lot of coaches, and I mean this sincerely. I've been saying it about you a long time. You know that this guy can flat-out coach. There's no doubt about it. He's a star and a coaching professional. I'm proud of you, big guy.
Thank you very much.
Throwing Rutgers around. There's a guy who played at Rutgers. His team is in trouble right now. We're talking about Jimmy Valvano. We say March is made for miracles. Murray State's up by 11. We'll be checking in on that game. We've got more scores and highlights. Thanks again, Dick. Good luck to Richmond. Final score tonight, Temple over Lehigh. We continue with LSU and Georgetown straight ahead. Welcome back. I'm Bob Lee, the NCAA Tournament tonight. But if you talk about March being made for miracles, how about a seesaw game between Murray State and NC State, Ron Franklin?
From Lincoln, Nebraska, Ron Franklin along with Quinn Buckner, 57-52, the same margin at halftime. Murray State on top, and Jeff Martin has just dropped in his 21st point of the evening. The all-everything player in the Ohio Valley Conference this year, proving exactly why in this one tonight. He came in averaging over 26, and he has 21 points in this one, 11 in the second half. Brown all of a sudden has caught fire. He had but 2 at halftime, and now all of a sudden it gives him 10.
Yeah, he's doing a good job of taking over inside. The first half he's shooting those jump shots. That's not going to help North Carolina State. He needs to get out on the block. He has more height. He's a great jumper and just shoot over people on the Murray State basketball team.
You heard me talk about that screen just a moment ago. Esias misses from outside. Ogden is the man who held the screen up. As Mann couldn't get that ball to hold its head up, and it caromed out. Boy, the crowd really groaned. And Corciano, that time they were talking to him as he came down. Mann comes down with the basketball.
Wisely holds the ball out a little bit. I think he's starting to get a little bit tired, as a matter of fact. So Donovan brings the ball, slows it down. Now they've got to take their time, get it to Jeff Martin, and let him start doing some scoring.
Mann spin move along the baseline. Oh, my goodness.
Great move.
Don Mann with his 14th point, his first 2 of the second half, and a foul as they come down very quickly in transition. And Mann is...
What a game. Murray State and North Carolina State will be checking back in on that one and getting back to it throughout the balance of the evening and getting back to Lincoln, taking a look at that one. We got more.
He's a high-profile, in-demand basketball coach with an enviable track record.
Hi, guys. Hello, Larry. How are you?
But here in a Midwestern donut shop, this Long Island native finds a sense of peace and contentment.
I grew up on top of my grandfather's bakery, and you know, he was pretty awesome. But you know, Carolee's gotten us over some rough spots. My dogs like their donuts, and but I like the fellowship there.
The numbers begin to tell the Larry Brown story. He has won everywhere that he's coached.
I want to win badly. I want us to be the very best program. I've been disappointed in the fact that there is so much mention about me leaving all the time, but I've been here 5 years, and I know a lot of coaches that have moved a lot more than me that they never even talk about it. You know, I really honestly would hope that someday people would focus on whether I could coach or not, whether I cared about the kids, whether I did a good job. That would be something that I'd really feel proud about.
The hottest rumor on the basketball tour now has Brown leaving Lawrence to work for old friend Carl Scheer at the NBA expansion Charlotte Hornets.
I don't know if I could handle losing. I doubt I could. But I don't ever want to be in that position. You know, I doubt that a Dean Smith or a Bobby Knight or John Thompson, people that I have a great deal of respect for, would consider that as an alternative.
Job rumors and Larry Brown. The two seem married, but he denies any soul-searching over an impending departure from Lawrence, Kansas.
I haven't been struggling with the decision, you know. I had a press conference last year and said I was staying. I didn't realize I have to come out every day with another statement about my staying or not. You know, 5 years is a commitment I think that I've made that has shown the fact that I have every intention of staying. I think when people speculate about me going to Charlotte, then they have basis for that because that's one special place. But I've heard my name mentioned 5 or 6 places, and I think then it becomes silly after a while. And so I have every intention of seeing Vital clean now and feel it.
State, North Carolina State. Let's take you back to the beginning of that game when North Carolina State, number 3 seed in this region in the Midwest. Kelsey Weems picks off the pass and an 8-point lead for NC State, but the Racers race back. Don Mann, look out. That's a 3, and the Racers are up by 3, up by 5 at halftime. Wolfpack coming on back. Shaq takes it to the rack, gets it out to Rodney Monroe for 3. Now the Wolfpack only down by 4. Jim Valvano, yeah, he's directing traffic, but the Racers, Chris Ogden gets this offensive rebound, puts it back up. He was a clutch player down the stretch. Inside a minute, the Racers by 4. 7 seconds to go. Paul King makes the free throw, and the Racers are up by 3. It's 78-75. But he has one more attempt coming. He misses the rebound to Del Negro. The 3 to tie the game, and it doesn't go. And Steve Newton and the Racers with the upset over the Wolfpack. That final score 78-75. So North Carolina State knocked out last year in the first round. Same thing happens in 1988.
Hey, is Steve Newton the brother of Fig Newton?
No, and
what about
nor
Isaac?
Sir Isaac, neither.
No,
neither
Sir
one.
Isaac
No, the
either.
Racers have raced their first trips in '69. They've done a number.
Hey, think about this. Last year, the Ohio Valley Conference, Austin P over Illinois. They say bye-bye. Tonight, they say bye-bye, Jimmy V. Go eat your lasagna. Vital's boys to the shower. I'll tell you one thing. Jim Delaney of the Ohio Valley Conference commissioner, who used to play at North Carolina, has to be ecstatic doing a little dance right now.
I'm going to jump on your case
Stop
now.
hitting me.
Well, I didn't come close
Stop
to you.
hitting me.
You've been a great advocate of talking about how the best 64 aren't here. North Carolina A&T out of the Mid-Eastern gives Syracuse a major scare. Lehigh does the same thing tonight to number 1 Temple. I think the formula that's in place works okay. It may not be the best 64 teams, but right now they're playing like it.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. These clubs have played like a top 64. However, I think if you use the computer and come out with the best 64, that's the way to go. And if they're one of the top 64, Murray State, maybe they'll chart out to be one of the best. They deserve to be in. Cannot convince me any other way. I'm a stubborn little paisan. Don't you understand that?
Oh, I know that all too well. A couple of
That 19 more free throws by LSU than the Hoyas here tonight. And LSU can be a good free throw shooting team late in the game. They'll hit roughly 3 of 4 when it gets below 2 minutes.
Yeah, and that's really the key figure right there is how do you shoot it when the game's on the line. Georgetown, of course, has had a lot of problems shooting the ball. Dale Brown with the timeout. Look for him to call a special play on the timeout now.
And also with the stat sheet. Don't think those coaches don't know who the good free throw shooters are out there. That's what he was glancing at. Georgetown 4-3 in close games. LSU 3-1 in similar situations.
Georgetown extending the defense more. Boy, they get right up on you. Pretty good shot there.
Boy, they really left Sims open. And this game is tied. 16 for the freshman, 63 all. First time we've been tied since 4-4. And Thompson will spend his second timeout. 37 seconds remaining. A pause on the court.
Iowa wins the track meet against Florida State in L.A. They do it 102-98. B.J. Armstrong had 35 in that game. Just over 3 minutes now. Kentucky up by 18, 92-74 on Southern. We are going right down to the wire. Let's get back to Bob and Dan.
16 points and 7 rebounds. We talked about how well he played in the SEC tournament with 14 against Kentucky. He was 9 of 15 in the tournament.
Georgetown going to try to run it all the way down, Bob, now with 30 seconds left in the game. Now let's get within 6 feet. If they get within 6 feet, you know they're going to start the count. But they're not. They're going to sit back.
Georgetown made a 13-0 run. LSU now has answered 22-12. A real game of streaks.
And a lot of pressure on the LSU defense right now.
Charles Smith has not scored in the second half. He simply holds the ball till 9 seconds remain, and John Thompson has spent his third timeout.
Dale Brown's got to be saying to himself right now, let's see, what kind of defense now do you come back out with? Do we switch up, go man-to-man with 9 seconds remaining on the clock, or we drop back and play the zone? They might switch up on him and maybe give him a little different look.
Well, the NCAA conducting research during the tournament. Would you like to see more women's basketball on TV? If yes, 900-260-2221. If your answer is at about this hour, right now, it's John Thompson, Dale Brown, the Hoyas, and the Tigers. 9 seconds left in regulation. Smith will throw it in, and LSU wants a timeout. So it's still 63-63. 9 seconds left. We'll be back to Hartford in just a moment.
Going to take so much time off the clock like he did without any kind of pressure. What he's saying is, if you can beat us with the last shot, you're going to win the basketball game.
Now, do you take a shot with what, 5 or 4, maybe get the offensive board, maybe?
Well, you're going to take it right down the wire because it's an overtime game. It's not like you're down 1 and you want to get it back.
Let's see the game come down to its conclusion.
Timeout huddles are broken. Dale Brown, John Thompson. And Dan, you feel that number 13, Charles Smith, is the key man for Coach Thompson in this situation.
Well, I thought that Smith may penetrate with the ball, and I did feel that LSU might change it up and go a little man-to-man. Maybe they're going to show man-to-man and drop back in the zone. But they're trying to keep it away from Smith. They couldn't do it.
Smith, time spent on the exchange. 3, 2, he let it go in time, and it goes in! Georgetown wins it!
Just the way they drew it up on the blackboard, right?
John Thompson gets a buzzer beater from Charles Smith, a three-pointer, and Georgetown wins it 66-63.
You saw what it meant to John Thompson, that brush of emotion of his, and the 3, and Smith was sitting there watching it happen.
Well, how come you're on my case when I don't call one? Now, when I call one, you don't give me any credit. I don't know, Bob Lee. You're supposed to be my buddy.
I am your buddy. But all right, intense game, certainly, in an appropriate way for those two teams to go right down to the nub.
Heartbreaking loss for LSU, but they've had so many wins over the years in terms of games that were miracles that they did pull out in the Dale Brown era. And I think when you look at it right now, they've been a very lucky team to be in the NCAA tournament. This is not a vintage Georgetown team. However, in a one-game situation with Temple right now, I really believe Georgetown's the kind of club that can give them all kinds of problems. Let's face it, this is Hail Mary time right here, Bob. Not really a great shot by Charles Smith. Clock coming down. Now here it goes. He's going to kiss it off the glass, and he says, that's exactly the way I wanted to do it, as they celebrate in Hoya land.
Putting it down for the 3, and so Georgetown with the victory over LSU. Now, we've got plenty more games coming your way. They all happen to be replays of games that have been played already or are in action at this hour. It gets underway at 1:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Xavier and Kansas will be in action. Arizona and Cornell follows at 3:30 in the morning Eastern Time, 12:30 Pacific Time. Iowa takes on Florida State. It'll be 5:30 in the morning. Set your VCRs. Don't stay up all night like Dick will at his hotel. Kentucky and Southern, 7:30 Eastern Time. Then Georgia Tech and Iowa State, 9:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, just in front of Pee Wee's Playhouse. You'll have a chance to take a look at that game. Now, to take you quickly around what's been happening tonight, NCAA Tournament tonight. Southern and Kentucky. Moments ago, a final as Kentucky has polished off the victory over Southern by the count of 99-84. Xavier and Kansas are in action. Kansas has pretty much had its way in this game being played at the Midwest in Lincoln, Nebraska. Xavier, of course, out of the Midwestern Collegiate Conference. Kansas in command of this game, up 18, with just now 90 seconds, we understand, to go in the first half of that game. Surprise of the evening has been North Carolina State, sent packing by Murray State. as Coach Steve Newton's team knocks NC State out of the tournament in the first round. Vanderbilt this afternoon over Utah State, 80-77. Purdue and Cornette did the job up front. Pittsburgh awaits Vandy because they had the win over Eastern Michigan, 108-90. Smith had 31 in that game. Iowa and Florida State, a very tense game at Pauley Pavilion tonight. B.J. Armstrong had 35. Iowa wins it by 4, 102-98. Seton Hall makes its maiden appearance in the tournament, wins over UTEP by 16. They'll play Arizona because Arizona boffed Cornell 90-50 by 40 points. Anthony Cook had 24 in that game. Richmond, the surprise of the afternoon, dethroning Indiana 72-69 on a Rodney Rice jumper inside 55 seconds in that game. Georgia Tech is the next team for the Spiders. They knocked off Iowa State by 12. Temple got a big-time major league scare from Lehigh tonight, wins it by 14. It was not that much of a spread in the game, actually. Tim Perry, 27 points. He was the difference. Maryland over UCSB by 10, as Derek Lewis had 25 in that game. The Fighting Illini in the Southeast, moving on, of course, into the second round. Lowell Hamilton had 21 points. He's out of Chicago, had a great game, 9 points the win, and they'll take on Villanova with the win over Arkansas. Doug West had 22 points. And that's where we stand with the scores of the day. What's been your most vivid impression of this tournament? I think we started looking at this yesterday afternoon, wondering if the parity that we have seen through the year would be in this tournament. No doubt about it. It's here.
Well, there's no question. We've been talking about that magical word, unpredictability, parity all year long from day one, from some of the first games we've had. And you see it now at Murray State and Richmond, two of the heavyweights in coaching. When you talk about tournament time, you talk James T. Valvano, Robert Montgomery Knight. They'll be on a sideline, and the names now really belong to a Newton and to a Tarrant, who now take over into the spotlight and the limelight. But that's the beauty of NCAA basketball. Give me NCAA basketball over anything, Robert Lee. I'll tell you, 9 great years I've had to work with you. Let's hope we're back for number 10 next year.
Yeah, if the creek don't rise. Let's ask you one final question. We've agreed going in that we saw Arizona as the champion. Has anything changed? A look at Purdue, maybe, or a look at Arizona against Cornell to change your mind?
Well, Arizona scares me now without Tom Tolbert. If they don't have Tolbert, you can't afford to lose a quality player at this time of the year and to be able to go all the way. We don't know about the condition of Tolbert. I love that team. I love the coaching job of Lute Olson and certainly the courageousness of Steve Kerr and the greatness of Sean Elliott. Yeah. But Purdue got a great basketball team as well.
We'll see you in Kansas City. Of course, we'll have complete Sports Center coverage in Kansas City the entire week. Sports Center is next up. For Dick Vitale and John Saunders, I'm Bob Lee. We leave you with a look at the people and the emotions and the moments of this day in the tournament.
Whoopee! Unbelievable!
Amalie Pavilion in Los Angeles, California, everybody. This is the final game of the first round of the 1988 NCAA basketball tournament. Tonight at Southwest Missouri State, seeded 13th, against the number 4 seed UNLV. Now, earlier today, here in the West region, Arizona advanced by beating Cornell in a mismatch 90-50. Seton Hall moved on. And in Game 3, Iowa won a ticket to Sunday's game and will play the winner of our game here tonight. And hello again, everybody. I'm Tim Brandt. And the big question being asked here in the West is, how good is Southwest Missouri State? And where is it? Well, it's 185 miles south of Kansas City. This is the 6th year playing Division I basketball, but SMSU's most famous graduate is not a basketball player, but a movie star, Kathleen Turner. Yet 1 year ago, the Bears got the attention of the entire nation by upsetting Clemson in the first round. A stroke of coaching genius by Charlie Spoonhour.
We had no clue what we were doing last year. Coaches, players, fans, we were absolutely clueless. Well, we've got some idea now, at least, what we're doing, and it makes it better.
He's dumb like a fox, and there she is, the #1 graduate, Kathleen Turner. And working with me tonight is Bill Raftery. And Bill, when you look at these two teams, well, there's a contrast in styles.
Well, the cities too. Of course, Tark, the bright lights, the fast lane, and the strip, that approach. But Charlie Spoonhour, the laid back, the old country boy, the shucks look, but they get it done as well. But the interesting thing, the Tark, the players were tired. They were almost as tired as his eyes at the end of the year, so he gave them a few days off, and of course they had other problems at the end of the year as well.
We lost 9 of the 12 guys from last year's ball club, 7 out of our top 9 players, so this is really a new basketball team, and we were really pleased with the way we were playing earlier in the year, and now obviously we're disappointed because we have slept off, and we hope that we're going to really make a good showing here.
They sound like a couple of medicine men, but they both think they have the right prescription.
Hey, now you talked about tired legs. Southwest Missouri State has played only 2 games in the last 21 days.
Well rested, but that could be a problem for them as well.
All right, we're all set in the West, and we'll show you how the West is won. We'll have the starting lineups right after this. Stay with us.
CBS Sports coverage of today's NCAA Basketball Championship first-round game from Los Angeles is sponsored by Extra Gold in bottles and cans. It's new, it's draft. UPS, for overnight delivery from coast to coast. UPS runs the tightest ship in the shipping business. And by Sterling, the inevitable British road car.
Running by it, great ability to gather.
The Bears sticking to a man-to-man defense. Nice pass inside. Patio gets away with a walk. Now he's called for a charge. And that's Patio's second personal foul.
Patio trying to force things a little bit. A lot of people here looking for him. He's got to play under control.
Jackson can't score. Followed by Stuckey. Yes.
Are they active? They really go after it. Size not important. Of course, Charlie Spoonhour feels that it's an advantage in some ways at the other end. If you're small, you can have quick people.
Bass Knight inside with a power move. He's the key to this running Rebel ball club.
Look for Stacey Ogden to get some things done. He's got a tough matchup. Keith Jackson's got to guard him. They should be able to get something inside.
Clay Holt looked for the three-pointer. Now is in a little bit of a trouble.
Pretty good step under player. Good outside shooter. Gets you up in the air.
Keith Jackson to Holt. Oh, not a good look. Numbers are there. 3-on-2.
And talking to the Vegas followers, the real struggle, they're not running the break well. They're not finishing it off. They don't have the outstanding leadership at the point.
That was smart that time by Rudy James. Pulled up at the foul line and canned it.
That's from your era. stop at the foul line or you'll be taken out.
Look at this.
Should wipe the goal out. Good
No bucket. Charge on
nice
Kelby.
move. They had cleaned out the backside. Right here, the step in. Good anticipation. Fast night. The leader in the
Instead of playing host to the beloved Tar Heels, arch rival Duke used the Dean Dome to play its first-round tournament game. Back home in Durham, the Blue Devil fans are known for their offbeat makeup, emotional and otherwise. Not surprisingly, when they invaded sedate Chapel Hill, they found a mixed welcome.
No, I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Have you guys been inside there? Everything is disgustingly blue. Everything. Disgustingly blue.
Disgusting blue? The official color is called Carolina blue. And if the truth be told, the man for whom the building is named feels defensive about all the tumult.
They aren't going to come and move us out. I will say for the press, they put a royal blue, carpeting there instead of Carolina blues to make them feel at home.
Duke debated what Dean had to say and soon agreed it wasn't that bad a joint after all. They were allowed to bring their own ticket takers, and so their fans were met by friendly faces. Still, everywhere was the stuff of a legend.
Felt funny. I don't know if Dean sat on the same seat that I do, but I wanted him to switch chairs around and stuff like that.
So everything's flipped upside down. Duke plays at North Carolina, while North Carolina is playing in Utah. In spite of differences between the schools and their fans, there's one Blue Devil sentiment that Tar Heel fans agree upon wholeheartedly.
I want to play Carolina one more time in the final game. One more time.
Well, I tell you, before that can happen, Carolina has to get by an explosive team from California by the name of Loyola Marymount. And if you haven't seen racehorse basketball, folks, wait till you see this team. That game will be coming your way at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on CBS. Most of you will see that, while others will see Auburn versus Oklahoma, and others also will see DePaul versus Kansas State. And we've got more coming your way here on our halftime show after this.
Halftime with Syracuse down 7 to Rhode Island. Now also coming up here on CBS at about 2:25 Eastern Time, Purdue, the top seed in the Midwest, takes on Memphis State. Over the last 5 years, Purdue has had trouble punching through to the regionals, but if they do, it will mark a major step in their campaign to put the Boilermakers on the basketball map.
Purdue country is in the eyes of the beholder. Some claim it's nowhere, others say it's paradise.
Purdue must be in chicken country. Is it Iowa? Is it in America?
I don't have any idea. I caught the dead there.
Where is Purdue University? Well, it's right in the heart of the Hoosier State, halfway between Indiana University and the University of Notre Dame. You know, once you spend some time here on the West Lafayette campus, you find out some impressive things, such as this was the home of Johnny Wooden, the man who won 10 NCAA championships for UCLA. It's also the alma mater of the first man on the moon, Neil Armstrong. And this year, it's the home of one of the strongest teams in the NCAA tournament, a Boilermaker squad that is led by 3 seniors, a formula that has proved to be a winner in tournaments past.
Todd Mitchell, Troy Lewis, and Everett Stevens are the senior trio that carried Purdue to their first Big Ten title since 1969. Teams with senior trios have had success in the NCAA tournament in years past, but the Boilermakers have had a history of early exits. In '85, they were first-round losers to Auburn. In '86, LSU knocked them out in the same round. These losses still haunt head coach Gene Cady.
When you're playing at this level, and with this importance of type championship, and when you put so much heart and soul into it, and when you want to do well, and you want your players to be successful and experience that feeling of walking away with the championship, and I don't know what that feels like, and I want to experience that it's just frustrating. You know, you want to sit down and cry.
Last year, it was the same old story. Florida's in the books with a win over Purdue. So last spring, Cady took his team on a basketball tour and a trip to the South Pacific for, if nothing else, a taste of paradise.
We all felt together down there, and we knew that we had a great opportunity coming in this season. And you know what happened at the end of the year last year, and then when we went down to South Pacific, we just told ourselves, hey, we got an opportunity to do something good.
Thursday, the Boilermakers were off and running, disposing of Fairleigh Dickinson by 15 points. But still, they seek a paradise lost.
Paradise is Kansas City. You know, we've won the Big Ten title.
We're very happy about that, but I think that the seniors' eyes are really set upon going to Kansas City.
Yes, remember the 3 seniors from Villanova and from North Carolina State. But today, the big obstacle getting past this round, and Memphis State won't be easy. The coach there for the Tigers, perhaps the most underrated coach in college basketball this year. What a job, superb job turned in by Larry Finch. Without his 2 stars, Marvin Alexander and Sylvester Gray, lost early in the season. He has Memphis State in the round of 32, and today a shot at the #1 seed in the Midwest. If Purdue can get past this game, they could perhaps be going to Kansas City. All right, today we'll be trying to take you wherever the action is hot, triple-header coverage, and into the game coverage throughout the day here on CBS. Right now, we're getting set to send you back to Chapel Hill, where Syracuse is trailing 56-49 to Rhode Island. We'll send you back to Brent and Billy after this message and a word from your local station.
Going to Kansas City, here I come.
Douglas and the Orangemen shooting 75%. We went away. Douglas was gasping for air, playing under the weather, but it is Rhode Island, Billy, very tired here this half, and still 12 minutes to go.
Well, that timeout really helped Cena. He's back in the ball game now. He's had a hard time banging down inside against Cycli. Right now, that's who he's matched up with in his 2-3 zone.
Douglas has scored but 4 points, and of course, he's had to work hard at the defensive end against Garrick Adams. There he is, lobbing it back inside. The play is there all day.
Brent, you saw the matchup 2-3 zone. Garrick tried to go down inside when Douglas went through, and nobody there to pick up.
Now the Orangemen followers who have traveled here to North Carolina start coming alive as their team has closed to within 1. They're on an 8-0 run right now.
Boy, Duncan and Garrick really doing a lot of banging around on the other side.
Coleman
big switch.
Also bagging Green on the inside.
There was a switch of defensive assignments that time. Not wanting to get Cycli as 4th. Looks like Jimmy Boeheim has switched Coleman over on him. Coleman a little argumentative position here, saying I didn't get in the first lick.
On Coleman, that is his 3rd personal.
Only the 3rd team foul in this half.
He got into foul trouble against North Carolina A&T, and Boeheim brought him back at a critical point in the game, and he played out with 4 fouls and did a good job. And there was another foul going against Syracuse. That was against Duncan over there on the far side, his 2nd.
Duncan, a powerful young man, really had Cena in the corner, and it's a good double team.
Well, Syracuse has up that 68th. It has not been an aggressive inside defense employed by Rhode Island. Billy Packer has told him short-handed. Owens.
Nice
Green with an offensive rebound. Let's lean in.
Boy, great block out on his part. He put Coleman too far under the basket.
Thompson, as Syracuse comes right back. Missouri closed in on Rhode Island in the first round, and then the Rams put them away in the second half.
That's a 3.
Not there, but Thompson's got an easy offensive rebound.
Evans is on that side of the zone. They're very small in the back of the zone right now with Evans and Cena.